Hello, I'm Dr. Chatter, and I'm wearing orange so you don't shoot me. I've been going over the internet talking to a bunch of people, and turns out they're all really edgy about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I mean, it's been going on for quite a while. So I thought I'd take a little bit of time to talk about a subject that's related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, something that I think a lot of you out there might not understand, particularly by using children. The way I'm going to do this is explain how exactly people are using children in certain events like this to help promote their ideology. You'll see this a lot in people taking their kids to Sunday school and then taking them to go see a parade for the military. This is actually a fairly common thing of indoctrinating of children. And they'll pass this off as, oh, it's a religion, it's meant to be viewed in the best light possible. And well, that can be good sometimes. A lot of other times it can be used very badly. For instance, there are videos going around on the internet showing Palestinian kids yelling at Israeli soldiers and throwing stones at Israeli soldiers. And the news is covering a lot of this and saying the exact same thing, that these Palestinian children are bad and they're going against the Israelis and they're probably connected to Hamas, which may or may not be true. But what I never understood is why they don't explain the full history of kids throwing rocks. It seems particularly interesting considering during the American Revolution, kids would actually throw rocks at redcoats. It's one of the reasons why the Boston Massacre happened and why the Riot Act was written up. They would throw these rocks and yell redcoats and lobsterbacks to all the British soldiers. Kids have been doing this a lot. I mean, kids will be kids. Kids will just walk up to other kids that they don't like for some reason. Maybe they're wearing a t-shirt and just punch them for no good reason. Kids will be kids. Unfortunately, kids in this conflict are being swayed one side or the other. And it's coming into a dramatic conflict right now, and I think it's got to stop. Say you don't believe that America is using children to fight wars, and granted, the American Revolution, it wasn't America quite yet. We didn't have a constitution or anything. We had merely declared independence. So yes, those kids weren't being used by Americans as we would know them today. However, during the Civil War, it's estimated that 20% of the people that signed up and went into the service for both sides were actually under the age of 18, and some of them are even rumored to have been girls. So there's another instance where we are finding they were actually underage. Many other wars continue to do the same thing. The American military isn't exactly above using children. I mean, most of the time they're recruited. These people don't even know that these kids are underage because they're lying on their applications and they're too busy trying to make quota to get enough people signed to join the military so that they don't have people yelling at them from higher up to do so. They're just happy to get the people volunteering. Well, that's not exactly a good philosophy to have, and we've tried to put steps and precautions in there so that this doesn't happen, but it still does. It happened in the Civil War, it happened in Vietnam, it happened in Korea. But not only that, in World War II, there was actually a 12-year-old boy by the name of Calvin Graham who got medals for his service, not only from being wounded, but from saving other people's lives, and was discharged dishonorably for lying about his age. He was in fact 12 years old when he joined. And yes, the military is not above using children. They've used them as messengers, they've used them as cabin boys, they've used them in a number of different respects. They just usually don't want them fighting. And unfortunately, kids will be kids, as I said, and they'll pick up a gun if they think they can do it. They really will. In the 2000s, and up till the present day, there have been a number of games released by the American military itself called America's Army. The latest one is called America's Army Proving Grounds. In it, you play a soldier from America, and you'd get to experience things as an American soldier would. In fact, you actually get a little bit of taste of the lifestyle and the ideology that comes strictly from the military. It's marketed towards kids, and it's marketed mostly for free. Another thing I find odd is how a lot of people say that these 12-year-old and 13-year-old kids in videos are actually just children. and they're doing just what the parents want, or just what Hamas wants, or what Islam wants, or even what Israel wants. But let me explain a few things about their culture, especially the Jewish culture in particular. And I'm going to read this so that I don't get it wrong. The bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah literally translates to son of the commandment and daughter of the commandment. In other words, the laws of Moses. The 613 laws of Moses. The commandments. The mitzvah, if you will. Now, under the rabbinical usage, the word bar means under the category of or subject to, which means that a bar mitzvah is actually a person who is subject to the laws of the covenant. Now, interestingly enough, when a bar mitzvah or a bar mitzvah is usually performed, father will usually get up and start saying prayers about how he's glad that he's not going to be punished for the sins of his child anymore. And these are done usually at the age of 12 for Orthodox Jewish girls at a bat mitzvah, or 13 for Reform Jews, and pretty much everybody uses 13 for the age of the boys. So 12 and 13-year-old kids, by Jewish standards, are actually adults and able to make their own mistakes and be responsible for those mistakes. Not to mention, you have a number of other people who will willingly take their kids to go to an institution to teach them a certain faith and then expect them to live by that faith. That is exactly what they're blaming the other kids for doing. And as we can see, not even our own country is against this type of ideology. We've had kids throwing stones at the British. It probably also happened in the Civil War, but a lot of them actually joined up to fight. So before you make judgments, and before you start saying one side's using kids or the other side's using kids to prove your point of why they're wrong, why don't you sit back and actually think for yourself and wonder why it's right to use kids as an excuse to fight and kill other people, including other children. Have a great day. I'm Dr. Chatter.